Okay, so today I am going to be starting to get back into my reviews, which I'm really excited to do. I've decided that I'm going to start a series where every Wednesday my time, check your local times, it may be Tuesday your time, I will release 3 reviews in one video for each of the SAS list series I have completed so far this year. And so yeah, that will keep us going for a number of different weeks. I'm really excited to be getting back into doing reviews. They are going to be spoiler free and help you, hopefully, to determine whether or not the series is right for you. So we don't have a lot of time. We have 3 series in each video, so that includes this one to get through. So let's jump right on in. Welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. Let's go. Yes, hello and welcome back to Mr. Francy Reads. We are going to begin these reviews right away. Now, they are all spoiler free, and the way I'm going to discuss each of them with you is give you a basic series premise overall, what is the series about, so that you know, and then I'm going to give you 3 spoiler-free pros and 3 spoiler-free cons to hopefully help you to determine if the series is one that you would like to pick up. Now, I love this idea. I'm not the first person to do spoiler-free reviews where I do 3 pros and 3 cons, but what I love about this is that as readers, we are not a monolith. So what may be a con to me may be a pro to you. What may be a pro to me may be a con to you, but either way, me telling you this in a spoiler-free way will definitely help you to determine if it's right or not for you. If you've read any of the series that I do review and you have other pros or cons that you think will help others, let us know in the comments section below. Alright, we are going to begin with a series by Nora Sakovic, and it is and I have these the wrong way round, but anyway, it is the All for the Game series, and there is a lot to unpack with this. So, first of all, I just want to let you know, there are 3 books, and book 1, The Foxhole Court, I actually read in, where are we? In 2023, I read this book, book number 2, The Raven King, in January of 2024, and I read this one in 2025. The time between these 2 books, this one was read July 2023. This one was read January 2024. So there's a big jump between these two. Between these two, it was literally 1 month after the other. Alright, so let's jump right on in to the Foxhole Court. Yes, I am holding up the books in this one, unlike in other videos that I do, just because it's going to be easier for me. But don't worry, we'll put images up on the screen in the other videos that I'm doing. So, quick premise of the All for the Game series is that we follow... Let's actually look at the premise of this one. We follow a man by the name of Neil Jostin. Now, according to the premise, which I'm going to read for you word for word, Neil Jostin is the newest addition to the Palmetto State University XC team. We will talk about XC soon enough. He's short, he's fast, he's got a ton of potential, and he's the runaway son of the murderous crime lord known as the Butcher. Signing a contract with the PSU Foxes is the last thing a guy like Neil should do. The team is high profile, and he doesn't need sports crews broadcasting pictures of his face around the nation. His lies will hold up only so long under this kind of scrutiny, and the truth will get him killed. But Neil's not the only one with secrets on the team. One of Neil's new teammates is a friend from his old life, and Neil can't walk away from him for a second time. Neil has survived the last 8 years by running. Maybe he's finally found someone and something worth fighting for. Okay, so basically that is your setup. We have a sport called XC, which, as I said, I'll talk to you all about what that is in just a moment. But in this particular one, the Foxes, all of the team, every single team member has had a very rough life. The coach is absolutely amazing. We obviously get to know him and the team throughout the series, but what we find out very early on in book 1 about the coach, so it's not a spoiler, is that he actually looks for this. He looks for players who are not only talented in the sport of XC and are really good athletes, but also those who deserve a second chance at life, who have gone through some tough things. So there you go. All right, so let's get on to the pros and cons that I have for you. I'm just going to quickly put the books down because I don't need to hold them up for this. All right, so con number one, this series is actually marketed as an LGBTIQ plus series, and I am going to say predominantly it is not. There's not a lot I can say here without, revealing spoilers, but what I will say is book number one, The Foxhole Court, is definitely not LGBTIQ+. Unless you want to say a side character just so happens to be gay, and we know this purely because he says it, but we don't see anything happen, that doesn't make it an LGBTIQ+ book in my mind. The series is, the next two books are, but this one's not. It's been miscategorized, and that very much annoyed me, so know that going in. Okay, so the first pro I'm going to give you for the series is the amazing cast of ragamuffin characters from the other side of the tracks. You can't help but feel for them and connect to them quite quickly. And yeah, very much so, because of the fact that it's, this whole second chance at life. They've all gone through very tough things that they've had to deal with in their life. You can't help but feel for them right away, which is fantastic. And you can't help but get completely invested in them right away just because of that reason. And then obviously other things follow throughout the story as we do go along that makes us more and more endeared to them as we go along. So a massive pro. If you are someone who reads books for your cast of characters, I highly recommend reading this series. As for the second con, Nora Sakovich loves her exposition, telling rather than showing, so expect a ton of exposition. Yeah, so I'm not necessarily a fan of exposition, but you may be. I thought the series was pretty good overall, but yeah, I don't like exposition, so I thought I would point that out for you. For those who don't know, very quickly, exposition refers to showing rather than telling. So if a character were it could be pages and pages and pages and pages of just standard prose where the author is just laying things out for you rather than you discovering it for yourself owing to things that the characters do, experiences that they have. So I much prefer show over tell. There is a lot of tell, a lot of exposition, so do be mindful of that. My second pro is Nora Sakovich does great cliffhangers that inspire you to pick up the next one ASAP or anticipate it if it is not released yet. Yeah, so very much so. I'm a huge fan of cliffhangers, and every single one of these books left on an amazing cliffhanger, which reminds me I need to pause here to say I'm showing you 3 books. There are 4 books in this series. I finished the 3rd book before the 4th book came out. I didn't know there was a 4th book coming out. I considered myself done with the series and am still considering myself done with the series. So I've not read book 4. It's not a mistake, but I'm still considering it done because at the time I was done with the series. All right. Next up, okay. So yes, con number 3. There are words that I can't say on YouTube, so I hope that you can just work with me when I give you some letters. SA, the R word, SA, bad things that happen physically to people of an S nature. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So there's an SA warning that's in place for book number 3. You don't see the actual SA, but you do see the aftermath, which is incredibly graphic. So do be mindful of that. You don't see the SA. You do not get to see that. And that. Okay, sorry, I was very briefly interrupted there. Yeah, so what I need you to know, just to paraphrase, is SA does occur. SA occurs off the screen, aftermath on the screen, incredibly graphic. So please be mindful of that. And the third and final pro I have for the series is Nora Sakovich invented a made-up sport called XC. So now let's discuss what that sport is. I have the definition here. So here we go. XC is a sport played on a soccer-sized court that has walls and ceilings made of plexiglass. It is an evolved sort of lacrosse with the violence of ice hockey. So there you go. If that sounds interesting to you, that would be another reason to pick up this series, whether it's XC itself or that it's a series that involves a sport. But all in all, I thought it was a pretty good series. 4.5 stars, 4 stars, 5 stars. Really came home with a great one in the last one that I read. So there you go. Hopefully that helps you to determine if this is the series for you. Next up, we have the Love and Gelato series by Jenna Evans Welch. As you can see, this is in a really beautiful box set that I just love so much, but now I'll take it out. Sidebar, how much fun is it to have a box set, take out the books, and enjoy? How little fun is it to put the books back? Alright, let's move that out the way. Alright. We have 3 books here, so we're going to discuss all of them as well as the premise and all those sorts of things, and these are not in the correct order. Now they are. Love and Gelato is book 1. Love and Luck is book 2. Love and Olives is book 3. Okay, now, I read book number 1, I don't even know when. It's not showing me that stat. Goodreads is doing something weird. It's, not showing me the stat. But anyway, I read all of them this year. So, there you go. And unlike last time, I'm going to tell you my star ratings right away, because it's very easy to remember. 5 stars, 5 stars, 5 stars. If you love books that I love, if you're someone who loves contemporary books the way that I do, you are guaranteed to have 100% satisfaction with this series. So let's jump right in to those pros and cons just to ensure that it is the right series for you. Oh, very quickly, I need to give you a premise of the series, but the premise of the series is going to be helped by me telling you the very first con. So, the very first con that I just coughed there. Sorry, didn't want you to see that. Okay, the very first con that I have for this series is that we follow a different character in every single book. Does that make it a series, or does that make Love and Luck as well as Love and Olives companion books? Well, this is a companion book to this is a companion book to these. We follow different characters. That is always going to be a major con for me. The series was so good that I did not take it out on the ratings, and wouldn't. Even objectively, I wouldn't take it out on the ratings, but I prefer, if I'm reading a series, and it's called a series, which this is, to follow the same characters so that there is that consistency. If that is something that you like to do as well, be mindful in every single book we follow different characters. But there is a theme that is the same, and we'll get to that right now. Because pro number 1 is that Jenna Evans Welch really takes her time to immerse you into the culture of the country the girl goes to in each of the books. So now I'll give you a very rough premise. We, in each book, we follow a different teenager girl who, for some reason or another, needs to travel interstate needs to travel internationally, for one reason or another on her own. When this girl gets there, that's when I'm talking about the pro here, which is that Jenna Evans Welch takes the time to immerse you into the culture. In Love and Gelato, we go to Italy. Oh my gosh, I felt like I was there. In Love and Luck, we go to Ireland. I felt like I was there. In Love and Olives, we went to Greece, and I've never really wanted to go to Greece, but now I do. So if you love being immersed in the culture, sights, sounds, feels of international destinations, you will absolutely get that. Jenna Evans Welch does not skim on the word that I just used, culture of the country and the experiences. So definitely a big pro. Con number 2, book 2, this one, Love and Luck, is categorized as a romance, and I would strongly disagree. It is a contemporary. go in knowing that. Literally, when you go to Goodreads, the very first genre of this book is romance. It's incorrect. There isn't a romance in the book. There is no romance. So I don't know why people are calling it a romance. It's not. Maybe some people look at romance and contemporary as interchangeable terms. I don't, because I read a lot of different genres. For a romance to be a romance must occur. I mean, right? A contemporary is, for those who don't know, defined as books that follow everyday people doing everyday things. A romance is about a relationship. So they're two different things. This is a contemporary. There are romances that occur in the other two, but this one is not a romance, despite it being the #1 genre on Goodreads, so do be mindful of that. Pro number 2, each of the books has something pieced and puzzled throughout. Yeah, so in book number 1, Love and Gelato, we follow a girl, and I don't remember her name, Lena. We follow Lena, and Lena is given her mother's journal. I won't say why, I won't say how, won't reveal any of that, but just to make my point, pieced and puzzled throughout the book are entries of the actual journal, which I appreciated. I love when books piece and puzzle things out throughout the book like that, whether it's a journal entry, a cooking book, a column, a whatever. So yeah, every single book has something and that thing is pieced and puzzled out throughout the book, and that just made it so much more fun. Okay, pro number 3. So con number 3 is the third book. This one really drags. As you can see, the third book is significantly thicker than the other two, and it's because, in my opinion, it does drag. At one stage, I honestly thought I would end up giving this book 2 stars. If you don't enjoy slow-moving books, then book 3, this one, may not be the book for you. It is very slow, and the page count on this particular edition is somewhere. 503, so it's a tome, technically. There you go. Yeah, so be mindful of that. Long book, because it is very, very, very slow. Okay. Alright, and the third pro that I have, and final pro for the series, is the connection to the characters is undeniable. Despite the slowness of book 3, which I did not enjoy, something happened towards the end that showed me how invested I had been in the book all along. I don't know how Jenna Evans-Welch did this. It felt... There are words that if I use, they'll be taken out of context, so to put it differently, it felt weird. Like, I'm reading this book going, oh my gosh, this is dragging, this is dragging, this is dragging, and then, you know, all of a sudden, we get to the end, and I'm crying at the end of this book, which shows that even though it dragged and dragged and dragged, clearly I was invested in the cast, clearly I was invested in the characters. It was a massive surprise for me how much it affected me, but yeah. Absolutely fantastic. So, if you want I'm going to call it contemporary. There are romances in 2 of the books, but not the middle one, as I said earlier. But if you want a contemporary series where the main common theme is traveling internationally to different countries and getting to experience their customs and cultures in a very significantly detailed way, I highly recommend the series. As I said, I gave each of the books 5 stars, 100% satisfaction, guaranteed. The final series that we are going to discuss in a spoiler-free way is a series that I have been reading for years. Let me warn you, it is a trilogy that I read the first book in 2020, the second book in 2023, and the third book in 2024. Apologies there for the lighting, that should help. Alright, I'm talking about the Captive Prince trilogy by C.S. Picard. There are 3 books in this series. Book 1 is Captive Prince. Book 2 is Prince's Gambit. Book 3 is King's Rising. And I can't believe it took me, 4 years. I started book 1 in 2020, finished book 3 in 2024. 4 years to finish this series. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it is a bad series. Let me quickly give you my star ratings. Book number 1, 4 stars. Book number 2, 4 stars. Book number 3, 4 stars. So none of them were even average. All of them were above average reads for me, but none of them also received 5 stars. And so, let's get into the explanation of why. First of all, I want to give you a very quick premise of the series. So we're going to look at the premise on the back of Captive Prince. And it says, Damon is a warrior hero to his people and the rightful heir to the throne of Achelos. But when his half-brother seizes power, Damon is captured, stripped of his identity, and sent to serve the prince of an enemy nation as a pleasure slave. Okay, I'm not going to read more than that because it will reveal spoilers, but I need you to be mindful of those last two words I said in that premise, okay? Damon is captured, stripped of his identity, and sent to serve the prince of an enemy nation as a pleasure slave. Okay. First of all, I went into this series thinking it might be a romance. It's definitely not, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. So, but do be mindful of that. But yeah, pleasure slave, that is what book 1 is about. It starts to evolve in book 2 and gets better in book 3. Be mindful of that going in, please. Con number 1 is, once again, I need to make the point that book 1 is categorized as a romance. I've already said this. It's actually the opposite. Okay, yeah, so, the R word, and the SA word and mistreatment all occur in the book. So just know that going in. Yeah. So with Damon, and now that I've actually said the word pleasure slave, I can give you more context. With Damon being stripped of his title and taken to an enemy castle to be a pleasure slave for the prince over there, he is treated exactly as such, and it is demoralizing. Some parts are really, really hard to read. Please do be warned that in no way, shape, or form is this a romance, despite the fact that it is categorized as a fantasy romance. It's not a romance. It is unconsensual stuff that's going on with a pleasure slave. So please know that going in. It definitely shocked me, but it does get better. The first pro that I have is homosexuality is completely normalized in this world. In fact, it's actually looked upon as the norm in many ways. I'll tell you why, because it's not a spoiler and it has no impact on the series as a whole. But these guys are having a discussion in book number 1, and Damon, just so because he is the prince's pleasure slave, he's sitting there with them. He's just sitting there, and they're talking about, like, you know, being gay and whatever, but not in a big way. They're talking about the normalization, how it is normalized. And the reason for that is because this particular world that the author has created, it is a made up world of their own, is overpopularized. So by being homosexual, having homosexuality as the norm, it decreases the amount of population because, you know, unless you do some sort of artificial whatever, or get some assistance somewhere else, two people of the same gender can't conceive naturally a child. So that is basically the point of that. And I loved that. I loved how normalized it was. I've read many LGBTIQ plus books in my time, and what annoys me with the majority of them is how unnormalized it is. So it was refreshing to read something that not only normalized it, but it made sense to this world. So I was really happy about that. The second con that I have is the only reason this series is labelled as a fantasy is because it features a world made up by the author. It does not, and I repeat it again, it does not contain any magic at all. That annoyed me to begin with, because if I'm picking up a fantasy series, I'm expecting that I'm going to be getting some magic out of it, like what the heck. And yeah, I finally did some research after I picked up book 3, because I'm thinking, okay, there's no magic by now, then there's no magic in the series. And yeah, I found out it's labelled as fantasy because it's a made up world. I don't like that at all. Yeah, but then again, I don't know what I would categorize it as, so there you go. Just know that going in. Yes, it's deemed a fantasy, not because there are magic systems. There's no magic at all that we see anywhere, purely because it's a world made up by the author. Alright, the second pro, book 2, Princess Gambit, is romancy between two male characters and shows much less mistreatment to a significantly lesser degree. Yeah, and it actually really surprised me. This one is incredibly full on with the SA, the R, the mistreatment, the all this. It was ridiculous. This one, after when I finally picked this one up, I remembered what happened in this one, was ready for this one, and was very shocked that CS Picard had really calmed that down. If this is 100% full on too much, this one was like 50%. So yeah, very surprising. So just know that if that's a pro for you. Con number 3, each book is a singular perspective, which in this case limits us to what we experience. Dual perspective would have served much better. Yeah, sorry again about the lighting. Yeah, dual perspective would have served this much better. Predominantly, we followed the, what's his name? I don't want to refer to him by the title. Predominantly, we follow Damon, and the prince that Damon is given to is Leron. So predominantly, we are dealing with Damon and Leron. However, it's a singular perspective following Damon, which I do understand why the majority of the things that are happening directly to him. So that does make sense. But I feel that CS Picard was limited, and we were limited in what we could experience with it not being a dual perspective. I would have loved to have the perspective of Leron as well. And my final pro for this series as a whole is that there are some amazing reveals at the end of the series, the final book, that I had no hint we would even get. Trust me, if you read this series and you make it to book 3, stick it out to the end, because it's very satisfying. Yeah, I got to the end, there were all these reveals, and I'm like, wait, what? Wow, oh my gosh, how many reveals, and oh my gosh, they're so good, and I did not expect this at all, what's going on? So, I think this, again, was one of those situations where I might have given this 3 stars, and I bumped it up to 4 because of all the reveals at the end that weren't expected. So, yeah, it's another really, really, really big pro. And that is it. First 3 series done. All for the Game by Nora Sakovic. Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch. And the Captive Prince trilogy by C.S. Picard. And I just realized all of these are trilogies, and I did not intend it for that way. I am reviewing all of the series in order of their completion on my SAS list this year, and the first 3 series I completed were All for the Game, the Love and Gelato, and the Captive Prince series, and they just happen to be trilogies. But if you've picked up any of these series, as I did state earlier, and you can think of other pros and cons that may help to assist people to determine whether or not they should pick these series up, please do let us know in the comments section below. So, every Wednesday, my time, it may be Tuesday, your time, you are going to get a video of 3 series that I review, and I'm definitely looking forward to the next one. I won't tell you what the next ones are, but I will say, I think you're going to be very, very, very happy. And now for everyone's favorite game, since I have the books on me that we like to call These are the books and series that I've been discussing with you in this video. On top of everything else, if you have read them and want to share your experience with me, let me know that in the comment section below. But in the meantime, I'm going to let you all go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Please do be kind and love one another, and spread your sparkling energy all throughout the world. And until next time, happy reading. Bye everyone!